Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is the follow-up to Ghostbusters Afterlife, and so I went to the theater to go see it, so let's review. So Ghostbusters Frozen Empire follows the Spengler family. They have moved to New York and taken on the family business of ghostbusting, as well as with the help of some of the OG Ghostbusters. But then some new ghost shenanigans happens in New York, and now the newer cast members, as well as some of the old cast members, must work together to investigate and stop the new ghost shenanigans from happening before this hot July turns into a cold July for them. Now, if you've seen my review of some of the other Ghostbusters films, you know how I feel about them. The first one's the best, the second one and the 2016 joint, not good at all. And Afterlife, I thought, was a solid celebration of the franchise while also bringing in some new fans. And going into this film, I was actually excited because having marathoned all the Ghostbusters films, it had me actually excited for a brand new Ghostbusters film. Now granted, I've only been alive for now 3 of these movies. The 2016 film was the only one I saw in theater. I don't know why I didn't care to go see Afterlife in theater, but I can only imagine it's because it was just one of those movies that I said, all right, I'll wait till I can stream that. But I went into Frozen Empire excited just to catch up with these characters and see how they were going to follow up Afterlife. And here, I thought it was fun at best, but flawed. And deeply flawed more than the previous film. Now granted, let me also be clear, I still enjoyed this film, but I didn't grow up attached to this franchise, so I might be a little bit more forgiving of this film, but that doesn't mean that I'm also going to let the flaws of this film pass. Now, I do like that we went back to New York for this film because I feel like New York in the original films, that was a character in itself, and even in the 2016 film. And I really enjoyed the first 20 minutes of the movie, just watching them work together and ghost busting and seeing how everyone works and what everyone is good for. Now, this time around, this film is directed by Gil Kenan, who I'm not too familiar with, but I do know he made films such as Monster House, which I've never seen, and he made the Poltergeist remake from 2015, which I was not too fond of. But Jason Reitman, he still wrote this film, so his hands were still in this film. And I really do enjoy the fact that we continue on through the Spengler family. Like Phoebe, played once again by McKenna Grace, she is in the forefront of this story, especially since she's one of the few newer characters that resembles one of the original characters, given that she is the granddaughter of Egon Spengler. But her thing in the film is that the Ghostbusters, they do get in trouble, and they especially get them on child endangerment and child labor because she is under the age of 18 in this film, so she technically can't be a Ghostbuster. And so they bench her, and I do like that she's trying to figure out, like, where does she fit into all this and what it means to be a teenager. And I just like how her mother's just encouraging her, like, you're too into this Ghostbusters thing that you're not being an actual kid. Be an actual kid. It's summertime, for God's sake. So I do like and appreciate that, but I feel like throughout the movie was going, she just became more of a brat. I do like where they take Paul Rudd's character because he is the official stepdad of this family. He has a whole new label, and both of them are trying to adjust to that. Carrie Coon returns as Callie Spengler, the daughter of Egon Spengler, and she really didn't have so much to do in this movie outside of being a stern but caring parent. Now, for the original Ghostbusters, they do have more of a presence in this film than they did the last film. Like Dan Aykroyd, he returns as Ray Stintz, and I do like where they take his character, just him coming to terms that, he's just getting too old and he can't keep ghostbusting anymore. And even Ernie Hudson, who returns as Winston, he's trying to tell him, like, look, these are the golden years. These are our twilight years. You shouldn't keep doing something that could potentially get you killed. So I like that little dynamic. And I even like how Winston, he's basically become the Nick Fury of the Ghostbusters franchise because he took on, because he's a philanthropist, and he took on the Ghostbusters business and made sure it stayed alive. Now, I was excited to see Annie Potts return as Janine, and we saw in the trailers that she even suits up and Ghostbusters with them, but that's really all she really does in the film. Bill Murray, the amount of screen time you saw him in the trailer is just as much time as you're going to see him in this movie. And while he was funny for the little time he was in this film, it does feel like Sony, they just cut him a check to be in this movie because it would have just been real awkward if 2 out of the 3 surviving original Ghostbusters returned in this movie and he just wasn't there. Continuing on with characters that really did not need to be there. I mean, Finn Wolfhard, I know he's a Spengler, so it makes sense for him to be here, but they really didn't give him that much to do outside of just being part of the gag that features Slimer, which doesn't make no sense why he's here. His girlfriend, Lucky, played by Celeste O'Connor, she really didn't have that much to do. Even Podcast didn't have that much to do, and he was just there just to hang out with Ray Stintz. William Atherton, who played Walter Peck in the second film, I believe, he returns in this film, and he's just there just to do the same thing he did over 40 years ago. Just be there to stop the Ghostbusters from ghostbusting and trying to claim that they're causing more harm than good. And after years of them saving the world, you would think he'd be on board, but there's even a new ghost in this film that I'm not gonna spoil, but let's just say that this new ghost has something to do with Phoebe in the movie. Kumail Nanjiani, I mean, I thought he was funny in the movie, but at the same time, he was just there to be a plot device, and he even took away from some of the more dramatic moments in this film. Patton also was just there to be exposition dump for the characters in this movie. And I really mean it. That's all he was there for. The mini marshmallow men, the Stay Puft Marshmallow men, they have officially become the minions of this franchise. They have become the Baby Yoda of this franchise. They have become the Baby Groot of this franchise. I do like how this movie does progress the franchise by showing more of the mythology of the Ghost World, but at the same time, it took away from some of the characters. And again, I got to put more emphasis on why people love the Ghostbusters. It was not all the ghost mythology. It was not all the ghosts. It was the actors playing these characters. They made the film funny. It was just lightning in a bottle. And it just seems like they forgot that for this movie. Even the final ghost was generic for a Ghostbusters movie. It really didn't leave that much of an impact on me. Really, just that whole finale, it just resembled a previous Ghostbusters film or any Ghostbusters movie. Though I did enjoy watching it, but still. And real quick, for a movie that takes place in the middle of July and it's just getting cold with all the frost stuff happening, they really should have released this movie in July, which would have helped with the vibe of this movie. Now, I understand it might be a crowded movie season, so they didn't want to compete and possibly take away box office from this movie, but still, I feel like this movie just would have been better suited for summertime. In the end, this movie is definitely a mixed bag for me as someone that didn't grow up with Ghostbusters. I still have fun with it, but I feel like this movie was a slight step down from Ghostbusters Afterlife. And because of that, I'm going to give Ghostbusters Frozen Empire the shoulder shrug emoji. So now I have officially seen every Ghostbusters film. I am done with this franchise. Here is my ranking of the franchise, courtesy of Letterboxd. Now let me keep in mind, my number 3 and 4 spots are interchangeable, but that's just where my head is at right now. Did you see Ghostbusters Frozen Empire? Let me know in the comment section below, and let me know how you rank every single Ghostbusters film.